Well, I think it's fairly much better produced than than Bright Light's Antics is. I think there were, just a lot of engineering lessons that we learned from the first go round. We worked with the same guy, so we were able to sort of like pick up where we last left off. It kind of was a bigger, I guess, bigger canvas that we were painting on than the first one, which makes the third one even bigger because the third one is even bigger than the other two combined, I guess I would say.
I also think, yeah, and I also think that, like, when the first one is like, you don't really know what it is to make a record. And I mean, you do, but we had a very minimalist sort of objective when we made Bright Lights. We kind of just wanted to, document us playing these songs we were in. We didn't want it to get any fancier in the actual recording studio. We didn't want to add things to these songs that we couldn't really perform live. Even to a degree on the production, that's why it's kind of a raw, sort of isolated kind of recording. And on, like Cole was saying on Antics, I think we were conscientious of making a warmer sounding record, not making it more produced or anything like that. And we produced both records. It's also like a learning curve as far as our comfort in the studios, like how much we're gonna let anyone else into the process, which really wasn't that much at all. At the same time, we went back to work in the same studio because we wanted to work with Peter Cadis again, because things could get lost in the studio, but we knew when we had an idea, he would understand what we were trying to do and would help us achieve it onto the recording. And so yeah, and then there was just, like we were saying before, like the natural progression in songwriting, which we always feel like we're moving forward. We don't really stay within certain boundaries. I think that I think we actually, I think because we were pretty conscientious of not putting down the writing process between Bright Lights, touring for Bright Lights, and Antics, we were pretty aware that we were about to enter a new phase of distractions where you're no longer basically working and rehearsing and then working, rehearsing. You're getting thrown into some sort of like spiral of like touring, and like a foundation can be very much shaken up from that process because you don't know where your ground is. And we were pretty conscientious of that, so we never really put down the writing process too much after Bright Lights. And so we started writing pretty quickly afterwards, and we started just, seeing a nice progression, really, with, like, Antics. I think we've always, even for the songs on Bright Lights, we always saw, like, we would always see, like, a natural progression from one song to the other song. If we wrote one song that was at this tempo and that kind of atmosphere, the next one was going to be a reaction in the opposite direction to that one. So we knew that was kind of inherent in us, but making records is different than writing songs. So I think when we just started writing Antics, like songs for Antics, I think we just kind of started seeing a little bit of like just a natural drift to new directions and new feels to the songs. But on touring for Antics, I really enjoyed when the first and only time we've been to New Zealand. We've been to Australia twice, but the last we went to Australia on Bright Lights, and then we went to Australia for Antics, which is great too. Australia's a wonderful place. But then sometimes bands turn around, and we went the extra step and went to New Zealand, and it really is just a beautiful land. We were only there for like 3 days, but just actually, truthfully, just flying into New Zealand, it's just like land untouched. It feels like you put some dinosaurs in some far off distances. You feel like like that's the right setting for it. It's like a land of like 3 million people or something like that. It's just beautiful. I love going to Japan still, just because Australia is a great, beautiful place, but it doesn't feel that different in a way, like you can sort of identify with the people. People are really kind, English speaking, obviously. But then sometimes when you travel, at least I long to feel very alien in the places you travel to, and so it's kind of hard not to feel very alien in somewhere like Tokyo, where just no one really speaks English, and you're just kind of like obviously like a stranger in a strange land. And but it's a really pleasant experience to like walk around alone in those kind of places. And I remember the first time, which was on Bright Lights, we went to Tokyo. It was just like I just remember it was like one more. There's days that kind of stick out in your mind. They kind of even you're so busy, but there might be one day that'll stick out in your mind and it'll become a memory. And I do remember the first time I went to Tokyo, it was like a memory, just walking around alone. It was just really like zen and just really, really pleasant, feeling really different and not able to communicate. And wandering around cities that don't have logical grids, that are old cities, but still finding your way, I find that very, very pleasant for this sort of. So I like, Japan was fun, New Zealand's fun, Australia's great. We go to Europe all the time, so it's actually very familiar to us. And I like traveling a lot.